Okay, so once we have a document that looks like this, we said what we're going to write 7 paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of 13 people are here. So wait, did everybody notice to add 9th grade and 12th grade together? It was a step. Yeah, you did. You did it because it's this one. It was a step that was in. So like in the middle of doing it in class last Thursday, I said, "Oh, we weren't fully on step 2. There was one step where there was one part of step 1 that wasn't done. That was adding 9th grade and 12th grade dropout." Which is just a horrible thing. Imagine dropping out halfway through your senior year of high school. Yeah, Chris Rock, one of Chris Rock's stand-ups, he said like he dropped out in the middle of senior year, which is worse than dropping out in 8th grade, because at least at Burger King, the kid who dropped out in 8th grade has 4 years of experience at Burger King, but I ain't got nothing. So, what we're going to do is write 7 paragraphs. The first paragraph should look like what? Where did we get the data from? Now, you got it from me. But step 1 explains where it came from. So our methods are, we are gathering data about these 5 categories at the state level for per capita income, poverty, no diploma, a bachelor's degree, and a graduate degree. This is the data, so our methods are gathering data at this level for these topics. What data is it, where is it coming from? It's not coming from census. You know, I should have explained before, like a long time ago, not a long time ago, but like last week. Does this thing still even work? So, census does it work? Go. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna work. Moving slow. Will the government reopen? Wait, is it working? Yes. Census is a bureau. The Census Bureau is a part of, so it doesn't have its own department. It's a part of the Department of Commerce. What we call, we're not taking an exam on this. What we call census, like in your typical day-to-day language, you say, oh, census, like that thing that happens once every 10 years, and they go around and they collect data about every address in America. So as long as you have an address, you're accounted for in the census. That's why it's not a sampling. It is the most broadest of surveys that's done in the U.S. Because every household is accounted for. Now, that is not called census. Census is a bureau in the Department of Commerce. That is the decennial survey. That's what it's actually called. We just call it census because that's the only time we ever hear about them. But census, plus we didn't look around in here. Data set. Look at all these different things that census, all these different surveys that they do. I'm still going. Look at all this stuff. And they collect data from like the tax bureau to find out all this stuff in order to get all this data about like business stuff. This is from business. This is coming from Department of Labor and Statistics, they're gathering data from. Tax Office, they're gathering data from. So the Census Bureau is gathering all kinds of data. In paragraph 1, though, of the directions, I say what we're using. We use 2015, maybe 2014, ACS, American Community Survey data. But it says it in paragraph 1. You don't believe me? ACS. So, we're using ACS 2014 and for all these topics, and what else are we going to write in our methods? We got rid of DC and Puerto Rico. Why?
Because they were outliers.
They're not states. And we're just doing a state comparison. What else should we do with our data? We then are just looking for the highs and lows for each of these categories. I mean, basically in the methods, you're taking all the directions and just putting it into something much smaller and easier to manage of saying, this is what we are doing to understand these 5 different categories. Now in here, we're not going to draw any conclusions though. We don't even quite know what all there would need to be a lot more data to draw any conclusion. We don't know what the conclusions would be about. We don't know anything. This is just the data and method section of that we're learning to do. So, is that all? What did I say? Adrian, go. That's what you're over there taking diligent notes.
I'm taking diligent notes. Where's the data coming from? 2014 ACS for all these topics. We got rid of DC and Puerto Rico because they're not states.
We're doing state level.
State level. And qualify for the corresponding data. And now you're talking about.
Okay, I think that's all that goes into the method. So the method should be about, it should be a paragraph, not an extremely long paragraph, but a decent sized paragraph. Your document should have a nice clean table, easy to read, that's been formatted so you can see the rows, no problem. Good titles in there, like Adrian has in his. And then, all we're gonna do is just say, in terms of PCI, per capita income, these are the states with the highest, the top 5, and like say what the name of the state is, and maybe in parentheses put what their PCI was, and these are the lows. And this is, and the average in the US, or the per capita income for the total US is this much, and these highs are in a range going this much above it, and these lows are in a range this much below it. And then we go into the next column, and we do the exact same thing. We just say these were the 5. All we're doing is just saying what it is we did, what our findings are. When you've read a paper, there was probably a section called findings or data. And that's all it was. It's just what is significant that happened. And that's what we're doing. What is it that's significant that happened in this whole big table that we started off with, and we consolidated it down to something much smaller? What is significant? What should I be paying attention to? These 5 for each category. That's what you're paying attention to. So you're just going to state what they are and what the total is for the US for each one of these. Then that last paragraph, I said no opinion. So nobody should be saying, which I think, who is it? Mississippi comes up every time in the low, or in the stuff you don't want. I guess it's the high for high school dropout, but the low for per capita income and the high for poverty. I think Mississippi comes up every time. But we can't really draw any conclusions between these different columns. We don't know. First of all, census, you can't really draw conclusions from census. There's not enough of a Y in there. There's something like, correlation doesn't mean causation. We don't know, Mississippi could just have, this one part that's throwing off all the numbers, perhaps. There's one part that extends from Louisiana to Alabama. That's the whole boundary of this thing. So, but we can't conclude anything in there. But what we would love to do in that last paragraph is just say, these states repeatedly come up in the highs, and these states repeatedly come up in the lows. So coming on one time is not good enough. So New York makes it one time, I think. Yeah, New York makes it one time, probably for that one. Maryland, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Jersey keep coming up for the stuff you want. Mississippi, Arkansas keep coming up for the ones you don't want. Oh, I know what New York is. It's grad degree. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is. Grad degree. New York comes barely in there for highest grad degree. So that's it. So don't just like that. All that to say, don't say New York because it only came up one time. But states that repeatedly come up, and no state comes up in the high and the low. Like no state comes up for high PCI and high no diploma. Right? Are you guys not familiar with your data? You didn't study this? Read this table, study, memorize every number in there? No? What were you doing all week?
Well, I made the data. I copied it.
So what pattern could we see here that we're not going to rob? Well, you could even make a stretch to say the states that are repeatedly in the low are in the South. That is a pattern that comes up.
Versus the Northeast?
The Northeast, but it's not, well, you could say the Northeast is repeatedly coming up for the good stuff. California comes up California comes up one time for, it's for poverty, actually. But it's a low grad level. But it is a Northeast thing, but it's actually, if you look at even that, it's not just a Northeast thing. It are these small suburban states. Those are the ones, but I don't even know if you could quite say, because you would need to know more information that isn't in the data. So the ones that repeatedly come up are Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Really small, without a large rural poor population, but have a city, but have extended suburbs. That's why they keep coming up. But we don't know that from our data. All we know is these ones are in the Northeast, those ones are in the South. These ones are small. That's another thing. What else would we want to write in here? Anything else we can find? But we'd have to also know what are all Colorado comes up. To know for each one of these columns, you probably want to revert back to one of the tables you made along the way, because this one is not just a high and low, or you'd have to do what I just did, is just resort them every time I did a different column, because it changes every time. Each time you sort by column, it's going to change what the states are. So be mindful of that. So you're not thinking you're looking at one column, but you're looking at the other one. Everybody ready to turn this in? Just writing the paragraphs and putting this included with it. I think somewhere in the directions I also said make it a PDF. Not in the directions on the sheet, but in the directions of turning it in. You know where to turn it in?
Through Canvas, right?
Yeah, it's on Canvas, but there's another,
Submission thing, turn in
Yeah, there's a submission.
File upload.
Canvas. FAU. This is so weird. Get this thing. Oh, shut up. What? Am I crazy? I already went to the wrong room once today. So I don't know my password. Ooh, that's why. I accidentally hit that one. Under modules, blah, 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 directions and examples, Census 1. Now in here, I say, ooh, it's written so small. Somewhere in here, when you have made a nice table and written in 7 paragraphs, it might be best for this class and for completed documents you do for the rest of your life to make it a PDF. This ensures that the formatting doesn't change and you never have to explain to your boss why the graphs and words are out of sync. I find it I end up talking to myself or anybody that will listen, but nobody seems to care about you the way I do. When students turn in something and they say, oh, well, I don't know. Like, I'm like, what the hell? I can't read this document. And like, oh, well, you know, such and such. I was using a different program, so give me another week and I'll turn it in then. Like, I just looked, I'm like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you check? Make it a PDF. Make it a PDF. Then I don't walk around talking to myself. I don't do that. Then there won't be any problem. That's what a PDF is there for. That's why we make a PDF. Universal. You can read a PDF on anything. You can download it on your phone, a PDF reader. And so that there is no problem with formatting. You know, one little thing too in there. Do you know how to make a PDF?
Yeah, you say that.
There you go. All right. So it's not that hard. I've been baffled, like just baffled. Students are not using, they're finding some way of not learning Excel, and that's kind of like what the purpose of this is to get ourselves familiar with data and familiar with how to get like data that we have access to start research. But we also want to familiarize ourselves with Excel, because the next methods class you take, you're definitely gonna have to know Excel, and one day you're gonna have to get a job. And so, you know, all that laughing, having a good time right here in college, one day you're gonna have to get a job, and that's not funny. And you better know Excel for your job. Some of you are using some other programs, and I don't quite know why. Like, I don't know, Pages maybe, something like that?
Maybe spreadsheets, like
Spreadsheets, right. All right, so is that from?
That's Google. You can just convert it directly to.
Right, you can, but you don't have the functions of it.
No, you don't have the same format.
Right. Or the things that you can do in Excel. You can do all types of things that you need to learn how to do in Excel. We're just beginning to know Excel. But there's functions in Excel of why it's been the industry standard for 20 years now. That's what everybody uses. From accounting to social sciences to everybody uses Excel. And we have it for free.
Can you explain
How we have it for free?
that? Yeah.
Open up your email, and somewhere in here, maybe over here, apps. You just download. As long as you pay your fees come with so much stuff you should take advantage of. Everybody complains about their fees, nobody gets all that free stuff from their fees.
Wait, what did you click?
I clicked on the thing, this button over here. The one that says all the stuff that we can do. Microsoft Outlook is Microsoft.
That's,
All right, don't open it up in Google. Open it up in Microsoft. We can, all of us can download all of this good stuff here. Publisher, all the Microsoft stuff, products, except for, yeah, no, we don't have Publisher. Publisher is an expensive program. But PowerPoint, Excel, Word, and Outlook, this other stuff, who cares about that? I don't know what that is.
I think you can also find it on my FIU. It should be a download.
Yeah, you can download that. You can download, you could go get Photoshop for free. Some of these rooms have better programs than others. You can get ArcGIS for free.
From where?
As long, from me. You didn't know you could have ArcGIS? As long as you're a student,
You can have it on your personal computer?
yeah, it doesn't work on Mac, but yeah.
The desktop.
There's a bunch of files you have to download, but other than that, you can.
Yeah, I mean, it takes like 2 hours, but it doesn't take up that much space. It just, I don't know.
But it's only valid for a year, I think, right?
That's 1 year, but as long as you're a student, you can keep on revalidating it. And so, like, you validate it now, and then right before you graduate, you go and ask for another password.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll take you into the future. And, I mean, honestly, as long as, like, you know, you check in with me sometime, say, Derek, you're the smartest professor I ever had, I'll give you another password long into the future anyway. Derek, I learned so much. I'm so glad finally I listened to you now because I was getting in there then, and I still listen more then. But now that I graduated and real life came into the picture, I'm remembering back to those jewels you kept dropping, and I'm building up a treasure chest of Derek Scott jewels. So yes, download all the Microsoft programs. You don't see where I mean, there's so many programs you could get for your computers. All that stuff for like, you look like you're into like something art or music or something, nothing like that.
I wasn't crazy, but.
You could get recording programs. Anything that's on this campus you can get for free. That's what your fees are paying for. That's what I mean. Everybody complains about their fee. Everybody complains about the taxes, but don't go and use all the things that the taxes pay for. Actually, you do use them.
I don't add two problems together.
Okay, so let's say we're over. Can you send me the? All right, send me where you're at. You know, it's so, you know, one of the things that's so strange is that, I wouldn't say everybody, but when I went to school, it was kind of like you had to get a laptop or you hung out at campus. I wouldn't say everybody because it wasn't, like, y'all have so much more money than people used to have, just in general. Like, just look at any picture of the 1980s. Even if you're middle class, life was rough. Or look at any picture from the 30s. But look at any picture from the 80s. I'm thinking about my life, okay? So now if people were poor, so like when if you went to college, like you tried to get a laptop. If you're gonna get a laptop, you hung out at school and used the services there, the computer labs. Now everybody has a $1,000 phone and like a $500 tablet. Dude, get a laptop. Your tablets can't do anything. They're just like a bigger phone. You can't really, you can't do any work on a tablet. Did you email me yet?
Yep.
There we go. And boom. Let's say we're right here. So that's why I say all that, because that's why like this is it. Students aren't using Excel a lot of times. It's because they're using a tablet and they can only use, what was it called again? Spreadsheets.
I mean, it can use Excel too. It's just the iPad format's weird.
Alright, so we want to add D and E together, right? We got to make a new column. To make a new column, let's highlight F, insert, column. Alright, now we want this one, this new column F, to be equal to D plus E. That's it, right? So we can write it in that little smaller box, but we can make it in the bigger one. We can actually read it. We want this to be equal to, you see, even this, I'm going to tell you something. I know Excel, I learned it as I need it for things that I need to do. Some people, and this room is too small, but when I have a bigger methods class, there's people who are working adults who will be in there who work in some office. And that office makes them know Excel. So every semester that I have a bigger class with a working adult, I learn something new in Excel. Like how to, some people will like add all of these things divided by something, do all of these functions, one long sentence, and just make all those functions happen at once. I never do that because I'm afraid I'm going to mess up one of those things. Like you got to be inside the parentheses or outside of it to know which one happens first kind of thing, and I'm going to mess it up. So I'll do like 5 different steps where somebody else is looking at me like, Professor, just X, Y, do, and it all adds up. My point being, this I used to write equal to parentheses, capital D, letter number 2, plus sign, capital E, letter 2, parentheses. And it would come up with that. Don't do that. One of my students taught me, don't do that. And so then you would just take this thing and drag it down and would add it all up. No. The easier thing that I learned maybe all these years doing Excel, maybe 2 years ago I did it. Just put the equal sign, this, plus, and then just click on this, and it does it right there. Boom, and then drag it down. So you don't need to write all that formula stuff. You just click on the column that you wanted to do.
You hold the shift key?
No, you don't even hold the shift key. Oh, come on.
Yeah, I use control.
And it adds it all up. So the formula looks like that. So again, it was equals this plus this. All those seconds I just saved. It's more than saving time in your life, because that's seconds, that's meaningless. It's the human error. You want to click on things, you don't want to write things. Clicking on the column is much better than writing the way I said I used to do it, of parentheses, capital D, regular 2, plus capital E, regular 2. Not good. I'm going to mess up. If I had to write a longer one or I have to do a whole lot of columns, eventually I'm going to mess up. It's better to click on buttons than to have to write any sentence. And by sentence, I mean like a formula up here. But once you've added it, what do? And you drag it, there was another little step in here.
Oh yeah, you need to delete the previous 2 columns without getting rid of the value.
How do you do that?
Keep values. See if I remember.
If we just deleted this now, this turns into doesn't know the reference.
It's open up a new sheet.
Just copy this and then paste it on top of each other. But you have these options for how to paste. Paste it as values, the second one. These are the things of what, like those things that are on a tablet. I don't know if you can do that.
No, you have to like.
And even on Mac, you see, Microsoft is made for PC. Even on Mac, you could do it, but it's so much easier on a PC. Because like I just right clicked on the paste and look at these, all these different options for pasting and pasting special. Look at all those options for pasting. Like you would have to really dig into the Mac to know how to do all these different pasting options. And these pasting options are like wonderful. Like one that we're gonna want to use soon is this transpose, inverts the whole thing. This. Turns it on its side. We're going to want to do that in the next chapter. Transpose. It's a beautiful thing. All right, anything else? We know to add. What else we need? Top fives each. That's it. That's it. Paragraph methods. What are the high and the low of each column? And then what was the pattern that emerged? What are the overlaps? Okay? And I will see you next Thursday with new data. They turn this in on Sunday.